Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be looking at Business Model Generation by Osterwalder and Pignuer. If you've ever wanted to really understand how businesses work, or if you're thinking about starting your own company, or even just shaking things up at your current job, this book is like the ultimate guide. It's super practical, it's visual, and it was written with insights from hundreds of actual practitioners.
Yeah, it's not just some theory in a textbook. It's like they took all the best real-world wisdom and put it into this one book.
So it's kind of like a toolbox for anyone who wants to get serious about building a successful business. All right. So the book centers around this thing called the Business Model Canvas. You explain what that is?
So imagine like a one-page blueprint that maps out all the key elements of a business. That's basically what the business model canvas is.
Okay, I'm intrigued. There must be a lot on that one page.
It have 9 building blocks, and they represent all the critical pieces of the puzzle. Like you've got customer segments, value propositions, channels, customer relationships, revenue streams, key resources, key activities, key partnerships, and cost structure.
Wow, 9 blocks. That's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
So how does this canvas actually help you make strategic decisions?
Okay, so the cool thing is that these blocks aren't just floating around on their own. They're all interconnected. So if you change one element, it can create a ripple effect through the whole model. For example, let's say you want to target a new customer segment. You might need to adjust your value proposition, your marketing channels, even your key resources. The canvas helps you see all those connections and make smarter choices.
Like a chain reaction almost, like one decision leads to another. You need to be aware of the whole system.
Exactly. It helps you think about your business holistically and see how all the pieces fit together.
I'm starting to see how powerful this visual tool can be. I bet it helps to prevent those unintended consequences that can happen when you only focus on one aspect of the business. So once you've got the basic building blocks figured out, the book dives into these different business model patterns. What are those all about?
So think of patterns as like recurring configurations of those 9 building blocks. They're like templates for successful business models that have been proven to work in the real world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So it's like instead of starting from scratch every time, you can look at these patterns and see what's worked for others.
Right. It's about learning from the best and then adapting those patterns to fit your own unique situation.
I like that. So what are some of the patterns that really jumped out at you?
Well, one that's super relevant in today's world is the unbundling pattern.
Unbundling. What's that all about?
Sometimes companies try to be good at everything, like managing customer relationships, innovating new products, and building complex infrastructure. But it's really tough to excel at all 3. Unbundling suggests that some companies are more successful when they focus on just one core area.
So it's like specializing instead of trying to be a jack of all trades.
Exactly. Like you might have an amazing restaurant that focuses on making incredible food, but instead of also trying to build their own delivery service, they partner with a company that specializes in that.
That makes sense. It lets them play to their strengths and outsource the things that aren't their core competency.
Right. It's about focusing your energy where it matters most.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what are some other patterns that you found interesting?
Another one that's become super relevant in the digital age is the long tail.
The long tail. I've heard that term before, but remind me what it means.
So back in the day, like with traditional bookstores, they could only stock the most popular books because of limited shelf space.
Right.
But the long tail refers to all those niche products or services that might not individually sell a ton, but collectively represent a huge market.
Okay, so the internet has basically made it possible to cater to those niche interests because you don't need physical shelf space anymore.
Exactly. Think about platforms like Etsy, where you can find handmade items for any interest imaginable. Or streaming services like Spotify with millions of songs catering to diverse tastes. The internet allows businesses to reach those long-tail customers with much less overhead.
That's so cool because it means that even if you have a passion for something really specific, you can potentially find an audience and build a business around it.
That's the beauty of the long tail. It's empowering for both creators and consumers.
I love it. So we've talked about unbundling and the long tail. What other patterns are out there?
Okay, another fascinating one is multi-sided platforms.
Multi-sided platforms. Break that one down for me.
Think about a company like Google. They've got their search engine, which is free for users and attracts a massive audience.
Right? Millions of people use Google every day.
Exactly. And that massive user base then becomes super valuable to advertisers who want to reach those people. So Google creates value by connecting these 2 distinct groups, the users and the advertiser.
So it's like Google is the middleman facilitating an exchange of value between 2 different customer groups.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just Google. Credit card companies are another example. They connect consumers who want to make purchases with merchants who want to accept payments.
And of course, social media platforms connect users with each other, A&D, with advertisers. So the platform itself isn't necessarily selling a product, but it's facilitating those interactions and creating value for everyone involved.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that for these platforms to work, they need to get all sides on board. Each group's participation depends on the other groups being present and active.
It's a delicate balance, for sure. But when it works, it can be incredibly powerful. Now, there's one pattern that always makes me scratch my head. Free as a business model. How can something be free and still be a viable business model?
It's not as crazy as it sounds. The book outlines a few different patterns within this free E model. For example, you've got open source software like Red Hat. They give away their software for free, but they charge for services like support and customization.
So they're basically using the free software as a way to attract users and then monetizing the value-added services that those users need.
Exactly. Another common pattern is freemium, where you offer a basic service for free, but users can pay to unlock premium features or content, like music streaming services that let you listen for free with ads, but you can pay to remove them.
Oh yeah, I use those all the time. It's a great way to try out a service before you commit to paying for it.
And then there's the classic bait and hook model, like those cheap printers that lock you into buying expensive ink cartridges.
Ah, yes. The classic bait and switch. But I guess it works because people are always looking for a deal.
It's all about finding creative ways to monetize value while still offering something compelling for free.
So free doesn't always mean unprofitable. It's just a different way of thinking about value creation and exchange.
Exactly. And the Business Model Generation book does a great job of breaking down those different approaches.
This is really making me question some of my assumptions about how businesses work.
That's the power of this book. It challenges you to think differently and see the world through a new lens.
All right, I'm hooked. What other mind-blowing business model concepts does this book explore?
Well, one that's been gaining a lot of traction in recent years is the concept of open business models.
Open business models, what's that all about?
So traditionally, companies have operated in a very closed-off way. They've kept their ideas and innovations secret and tried to do everything in-house.
Right, it's like that old saying, knowledge is power.
But open business models are all about breaking down those walls and collaborating with external partners, customers, even competitors.
Right, collaborating with competitors, that sounds counterintuitive.
It might seem strange at first, but think about it. No single company has a monopoly on good ideas. Open business models are about leveraging the collective intelligence of a wider ecosystem.
So it's like instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, you're tapping into the knowledge and expertise that already exists out there.
Exactly. And it's not just for big corporations either. Open innovation can be a game changer for startups too. By leveraging partnerships and networks, they can achieve more with limited resources.
So it's like a win-win for everyone involved. You get access to new ideas and resources, and your partners benefit from your expertise.
Precisely. And it's a great way to accelerate innovation and bring new products and services to market faster.
This is blowing my mind. It's like the business world is becoming more collaborative and interconnected.
It is. And that's a good thing because it means we can solve bigger challenges and create more value for everyone.
All right. So we've talked about some pretty mind-blowing concepts so far. But how do we actually put all this knowledge into action?
Well, that's where the rubber meets the road. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore how to actually apply these concepts in the real world. So stay tuned.
I can't wait. I'm ready to start building some game-changing business models.
Me too. Let's do this.